Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another First Division review show. Keith Fitzsimons is in the hot seat today. Keith Ryan is taking a back seat, as is Gavin Woods. But when I say a back seat, not really. We'll start off with Bray Wanderers and Athlone Town. Keith here. Bray Wanderers 2, Athlone Town 0. Ben Feeney with 2 goals in 25 and 13-9. I think in the previous show you actually predicted 2-0 as well, I believe. Is that right?
There you go. Should have put money on it.
There you go. Just to prove I watch it when I'm not on. So yeah, good result for Bray. A couple of wins there for Bray in recent games as well. Athlone will be a bit disappointed with that. Bray now 6 points off Wexford. Keith, you must be happy enough with that.
Yeah, 6 points off Wexford, but Wexford aren't in the playoffs. So look, it was a decent result. The result didn't really tell so much about what happened in the game. Athlone certainly should have had a couple of goals. Stephen McGuinness played quite well in the goal for Bray, as did Enemino for Athlone. So look, Ben Feeney 2 goals, and their first home goals, would you believe? So he seems to be kind of getting amongst the goals for us, which is good. You know, he's only a kid. He's only 19, so. Look, 2 wins in a row, you'd be happy enough with that. But unfortunately, there's only 6 games left, so it's not going to make much headway in terms of playoffs or anything like that.
No, I suppose, Gavin, though, from Bray's point of view, they just want to finish the season strongly because a bit of optimism, going into the next season, perhaps.
Yeah, and we were saying that it's a bit of momentum, especially after the beating Galway then and getting the result as well to the night. And that's what it's about, building momentum and try and finish the season on a positive note, and just try and start for next season again, and hopefully it'll be a more positive start to next season, and just try and get as many points on the board between now and the last couple of games for the end of the season, Keith.
Yeah, and he's been their only real bright spark this year, you'd have to say, hasn't he, though, really?
Sorry, who was that you said?
Did you hear me?
No, who was that?
Alua.
Yeah, I mean, if you've seen the highlights, Bray played with a 3-5-2, and it was like they were trying to compensate for the pace of Alua. Now he did get in behind a couple of times. They had Huey Douglas, Jack Hudson, and Joe Gorman at the back. So, but there were a few times Alua went through, and probably should have scored a couple of goals for Athlone. I don't think he'll be with Athlone next season. I mean, I think he's, in terms of his pace, he's fantastic, and he has got a good few goals for Athlone this season. So, someone will take a gamble on him for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the first time Athlone didn't score in about 11 matches, I think, which is interesting.
The last team to stop them scoring was Bray.
Bray.
In the Carlisle 10 games ago, yeah.
Bray want to play Athlone every week. Unfortunately, they can't do that, Keith. On to the next game. Treaty United 1, Cobh Ramblers 0 in the Munster derby. That man, Enda Curran, on the score sheet again in 58 was enough to win the game. Cobh had a man sent off. Mbabio, maybe, I think, on 83 minutes, second yellow. He was sent off in that game. Treaty, though, is a very important result to get the win. Now 6 points ahead of Wexford, Gavin, in the playoff positions, and 7 points off Longford. But to put themselves in a good position, haven't they now with that result? Despite Wexford, obviously we'll talk about them in a few minutes, getting a good result against Waterford. It's a massive 3 points for Treaty now, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, Keith. I predicted that Cobh would win the game, so what do I know? But Treaty have been, as I said, they were like licorice all sorts. They're so up and down, and you don't know what you're going to expect from them. It's a huge result. And to be fair, I said the other night on our show, that to be fair to Cobh, they're on the up. They're on the up in a sense that they have a bit of organisation about them. Shane Keegan has them organised. They're playing a lot better. They're playing to their strengths of what they have. So I suppose, look, in that sense, compared to, I suppose, previous games, I suppose, in a sense, it's not a bad result for Cobh, considering I know that's a bad thing to say, but they were leaking goals for fun. Whereas at least, if I know not losing is nice, but losing 1-0, at least, you can build on it. And I didn't see the goal, but if it was a bad error, at least these things can be eradicated through training and looking back at the games. But I don't think Shane Keegan would be too disappointed. And as I said, look, they were just conceding goals for fun, and I suppose even the sending off didn't help either. Mbeo is the centre half for him, and to be fair to him, who I've watched the last couple of games has been very solid for Cobh, so he will be a loss to him when he's out. But to be fair to Treaty, it's again, look, we said it about him, and it's about winning games, and it's a nice 3 points to pick up at 1-0.
Yeah, Keith Curran has been a good player for them this season. Obviously, they brought him in this season. They lost McSweeney last season, remember, as well. He's out actually with an injury at Shelburne, but he's really took up the mantle with the goals of Treaty, hasn't he? And is putting them in a good position here now.
Absolutely, 11 goals this season. Any team would be happy to have a goal scorer that scored 11 goals. Obviously Stephen Walsh has 14, Phoenix Parson has 12. So, to be up there, to be in 5th place and have 11 goals, I think it's like a third of Treaty's goals this season have come through in the Curran. So, which is fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic for him, fantastic for Treaty. You mentioned they're 6 points ahead of Wexford. I was just looking at the fixtures after Bray. They've Longford, Galway, Waterford, Wexford. So that 6 point gap is crucial. They've Wexford in the last game of the season. And it could possibly come down to that game, given the games that they have with Longford, with Waterford, with Galway. The Bray game, anything can happen as well. So, it was crucial for Tommy Barrett's team, particularly with Wexford playing against Waterford, which we'll mention in a bit. But 6 points with 6 games to go. I think it's 5 games to go. It's crucial for them to have that gap.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's Cobh. Gavin mentioned this about Cobh as well. About they've conceded 66 goals this season, Keith. That's the highest in the league. 66 goals is crazy, isn't it? But I do think that Shane Keegan's trying to get them tighter defensively, and that's something he's clearly trying to work on, because I think recently they have been a bit tighter. I think it's fair to say. And that's something they look to improve on going into next season more than anything, because that's just too many goals to concede.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at Gavin's team against Cobh, there was only the odd goal in it as well. Lost 1-0 the other night. They went up to Wexford and drew. I think they drew 2-2 in Wexford, did they? He is getting the odd result, and then obviously the losses they're not being hockeyed anymore. Which is only a good sign for Shane. And Gavin has mentioned a lot of the young kids that they have, like McGrath up front and Hegarty as well. So, if they can build on that for next season, they'll obviously look to push up the league. But I said to Gav ages ago, Keith, the catchment area of Cork, if you're good enough, you're going to play for Cork City, not Cork Ramblers. So that's the unfortunate thing.
Yeah, it's even close to Cork City itself, and that's an issue. But finished Cork City 2, Longford Town 2, Turner's Cross, and Dylan Barnett after 13 minutes. We'll come back to that in a minute. Gave Longford the lead. Barry Coffey equalised at 58. Eddie Amo scored 65. He's starting to get a few goals there, and Coffey equalising again on 82. So Cork come from behind twice, Gavin, in this game. Is it a point gained in many ways because they came from behind to nick a point in the end?
Oh, I think so, Keith. A lot of people will probably disagree with me on this, but
I disagree with you.
For the bones of probably 3/4 of the game or 2/3 of the game, Longford were the better team. And anybody could see it, especially the first half after 45 minutes. Longford were playing absolutely super football. It was genuinely, and I've said this before when they came to the Cross, they seemed to be, I don't know, it's strange how it happens that you do it against Cork City and you can't do it then every week. You go in and lose stupid games. But they were actually really excellent, and people around me even said it, to be fair to Longford. Like I said to Keith Ryan the other night, I said, look, Dylan Barnett was outstanding, and I know somebody commented on after the preview the other night that he didn't mean the goal. That goal was absolutely top drawer. He picked it out and looked up and went straight into the top corner. It was an absolutely super goal. And then for the second goal, he made space down the left-hand side and put the ball onto Eddie Amo's head. It was the perfect ball. Eddie Amo had to do was guide into the goal. Longford were excellent. No, they were, give credit where it's true, they were superb. It's strange. Like I said, the game was dry. It started lashing in 70 minutes. It's like somebody hit Cork City players with something across the head, because they literally came to life with the last 25 minutes. They just came out of nowhere, woke up, and did a goal disallowed, which looked harsh. Gilchrist got a great header. It looked harsh, but look, to be fair, I think it was a point dropped. And I think, I suppose, I'd say at half-time, I'd say Colin Healy, I'd say threw a couple of football boots around the dressing room, I'd say, because they were so far off the mark, it wasn't even funny. And this has been coming, I've been saying this has been coming for weeks, that they just seem to be just kind of shuddering through games where they're not commanding in games, or they're only coming to life with 20 minutes in the game, and it's disappointing. And as I said, I hate criticising any player, but I just don't think Louis Britton he's not a Cork City player. He started the game, he played up front, and with all due respect to the guy, hey, having a go off a guy because that's their job, it's their livelihood, but he's just not a Cork City player. And unfortunately, he was taken off at half time in the game the other night, and he brought on Darragh Crowley, and when Darragh Crowley came on, the game came to life in that sense, because they just did a bit of energy, bit of penetration about him, and he linked up well with Cian Murphy. But I think it was a point gained, and that's the honest truth about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Dylan Barnett's shot was a fluke, to be honest with you, because I thought it was a brilliant strike, so I don't really know what he's talking about, to be honest with you. A brilliant strike. From Cork City's point of view, Keith, it does happen though, doesn't it, near the finishing line, when Gavin said they're not commanding the last few weeks. It's kind of a natural thing to happen, and you would expect it. They're quite fortunate in a sense that they have that gap over Galway. They're now 8 points ahead. Galway's a game in hand, but even if Galway win that game in hand, still a decent position. And they aren't exactly flying themselves. So I do think the point is a decent result in the circumstances. They want to win it, of course, but it could have been worse.
Absolutely, they do want to win. And in fairness to Gavin, he said Longford were probably the best team he's seen down in Turner's Cross earlier on this season. So, look, Dylan Barnett's goal, it wasn't a fluke. It definitely wasn't a fluke. He's done it all through his career. He did it when he was with Bray. I honestly think Dylan's probably the best left back in the first division, and he could potentially hold his place in a mid-table Premier Division team. He's absolutely fantastic. Going back to what Gav said, that about it may be a point gained. If you look at Cork's next two games, Waterford, Galway win their game in hand, they're 5 points behind. If then Waterford beat Cork City and Galway win their game, it's 2 points, and then they go and play Galway. So Galway could overtake. Now I know that's very fairy stuff, but and also, Gavin, what you said about the Gilchrist goal, I didn't see anything wrong with it either. I think it was a fine header. There was nothing wrong. But it swings and roundabouts. Barry Coffey's goal, was a couple of yards offside. So did that balance that out? Also, Keith, I thought Luke Dennison for Longford Town had a fantastic game in goal. He kept Cork at bay a couple of times. Made a couple of fantastic saves. And it was a surprise with Luke at the start of the season when he came into Longford, and obviously Gary Cronin dropped Lee Stacey, who had been relatively good for Longford the last couple of seasons. But obviously it's paying off for him. And Ian Fowler's the goalkeeping coach there, who was with Bray before, fantastic fella. And Luke will only learn off Ian. But 2-2, I still think it's a couple of points dropped for Cork. Home games, you want to be winning your home games, don't you, Gavin? But nerves are obviously getting the better of them.
Yeah. Time will definitely tell if it was points dropped or gained. That kind of way. We'll see in the next few weeks, I think. It's
Addy Amo, 5 goals in 5 games. What a signing. What a signing for Longford.
Just very quickly there to mention on him, should John Caulfield have actually let him go is the question as well. I don't know.
There was rumours going around that when Manley went to Galway, that Addy Amo was part of that deal and he was supposed to go to Bray, and it never happened. Now, whatever you think of that, I don't know, but there was talk of it. But I don't know if that was to happen. But yeah, it was weird. Obviously he wasn't doing the business for Galway, but he certainly is for Longford. 5 goals in 5 games, and he has them pushing in the playoffs. And they'll be a threat in the playoffs. They really will. I don't think any team will want to play them.
He was superb the other night, and as you said as well, Keith, Luke Dennison, he pulled off a save there in the second half there from City, from the 75th minute. It was unbelievable. You thought it was going in. And as I said there, if City, look, I obviously would hope Cork City win the league, but if they get Longford in the playoff,
Good God, don't get Longford is the tip from Gavin from a Cork point of view. Anyone but Longford.
give credit to them, like they deserve it. Like they were superb, like.
Absolutely. We'll finish up at Wexford and Waterford, and this was an unbelievable game. Wexford 2, Waterford 2 in the South East Derby, and I think it's 2 points dropped for Waterford, to be honest, because they obviously were 2 up through Junior with a good free kick, and Idawu as well on 60 minutes. But a Barry penalty for a handball, I do think was a penalty on Dobbs in 83, got Wexford a point. But it's not just that Waterford were 2 up, Gavin, in this game. They had a lot of chances in that first half, and Wexford chances as well, but all the better clear-cut chances appeared to be falling to Waterford, and they'd missed an awful lot of chances before they even scored in the game. But then at 2-2, they missed an absolute sitter with a couple of minutes to go through Wazim, who was in, and he just fell to the ground in disbelief, didn't he, that he missed it. And they'd be kicking themselves. Like, fair play to Wexford, not taking anything away from Wexford. You still have to come from 2 down and get the goals. But Waterford had enough chances, and good chances in this game to have scored 4 or 5, to be honest with you.
I was just going to say, Keith, like it could have been 5-0 at halftime with the chances and they were genuine clear-cut chances. But like as you said there as well, like a lot of teams, we say, for want of a better word, like when you go 2-1 against a bigger team or a stronger team or a better team, like what happens with a team, the lesser team, is that they'll capitulate, But give credit to Wexford for being 2 down and coming back, and they had chances as well themselves. Don't take it away from Wexford either. So great character from Wexford to bring it back to 2-2. But looking at the highlights there, that game could have finished like 12-4. That's the way it could have went to Waterford. But that miss at the end was. But then, like as I've said there as well, and I've said about Waterford in the past, and if you saw a Wexford equaliser, that was a bad goal to give away. The ball came across from the left. They were beaten at a 1-2 there. There was a 1-2 played. Ball came across the box, and I've said this about Waterford before. Fantastic in midfield and up front, but they're liable to do anything at the back,
Yeah, I mean, Keith, that's a good point. I've made a couple of signings, and some really interesting signings. 2 defenders, by the way. Sabawale, who's a young defender, obviously the brother of the other Sabawale who's at the club. He's come back. He was at the Man City ranks at one stage as well. He's rated fairly highly. And Baptista is coming in on the other spectrum, 36 years of age, and serious amount of experience behind him. He actually played with Blackpool when they were in the Premier League for a time as well, coming from Bolton, and they signed a striker as well. So what does that say to you from a Waterford point of view? They have to get up, or?
Yeah, we mentioned with Sean last week on the show, Baptista is 36 years of age. He's just coming over here for a swan song, his last payday, I don't know. But a 36-year-old defender, it's a major gamble. It's a major gamble. I don't know what wages he's on. I don't need to know what wages he's on. But, it is looking like they're pushing for promotion this year, And if you look at it, they're well able for it. The thing I mentioned, Keith, Phoenix Patterson seems to have gone off the boil a little bit in the last few weeks. He's been stuck on 12 goals for a long, long time, He had a fantastic start to the season, but...
although, to be fair, Keith, I do think he's contributing and creating opportunities in games and that kind of thing. He just seems to have gone off the goal trail all right, though.
Yeah, he had a couple of chances the other night. One from the back pass with the goalkeeper, which I didn't think was a back pass, and he blazed it over, but... You're right, Gavin. I thought it could have been 3-3 at half time. It was 0-0. I was shocked with the amount of chances that both sides had. Waterford had a couple cleared off the line. But another positive is there was 800 at the game as well, which is really unheard of in Ferry Carrig. I know it was the South East Derby, but fantastic atmosphere. You could hear the atmosphere from the cameras as well. So the thing with Treaty. Or with Waterford, it is a throwaway. They're 2-0 up. They would have closed the gap on Galway, and we were talking about this, Gavin. It doesn't really matter if you finish 3rd or 4th, but it matters if you finish 2nd. If they finish 2nd, they play the 5th place team, which is Treaty, which on paper is probably handier than if they were to play Longford or whatever. Still a long way to go, but yeah, they could have closed the gap, and they'd be disappointed that they didn't wrap up the game, particularly with the chances they had.
I think Wexford, the disappointing thing from a Wexford point of view is it's actually a very good point to come from 2 down and get a draw. Yes, they lose ground because Treaty won. That's the kicker, isn't
See, Wexford's played the top two as well in their final few games, which you don't expect going against Waterford or Galway or Cork. Oh, there's 3 points here. We need to get 3 points. Like, it was a good result being 2-0 down, but you're right. The killer was Treaty getting the 1-0 win against Cobh, and we've already said it earlier on in the season. Treaty are dogged. They got that 3 points. There's a 6 point gap now. But it might come down to the last game. How good would that be for the first division?
That'd be great.
Like if there's a chance of a game between Treaty and Wexford to who gets the last playoff spot, it'd be absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and it'd be also brilliant if Galway and Cork went the final stretch. Isn't that right, Gavin?
No, but I would, love. But that just shows what the first division. I'm not.
Gavin, I'll take it.
The good thing I haven't said anything yet about it, so I won't open my mouth about who's going to win the league, because I just know, from experience, it's just, I'm not going to say anything. And, it's kind of like, this is what I'm saying about Cork City just the last couple of weeks. You've got hands in your head and you're going like, oh, please, like, not this week, like, But then again, to be fair to them, they went away to Waterford and Galway the last 2 away visits, and they picked up the points, so we'll wait and see.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting few weeks, to be fair, the conclusion to this. But guys, we'll leave it there. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit your bell notification button and let us know what you think in the comments. Thanks, boys. Brilliant stuff.
Cheers.